Welcome to the Playful Wise Woman Show, multi-passionate musings for business owners and leaders. This is the podcast where we cover all the things. Owning multiple businesses, being creative, being a mom, having a homestead. I really do mean all the things. This is a space for the business owners and leaders ready to give yourself permission to be all of you. I'm your host, Cait Finn, play-based business and leadership mentor, here to share my wisdom and help you learn to prioritize your joy, be all of you, and grow a beautiful, successful business. Let's dive in. Welcome to episode 1 of the Multi-Passionate Playful Wise Woman Show. I'm Cait Finn, and I am the Playful Wise Woman. If you haven't picked up on it already from my intro, I love all the things. I love talking about all the things. I love learning about all the things. And I love sharing all of that out with my clients, my community, and the rest of the world. I'm so excited you're here. I'm so excited to share more about where I see this podcast going, what I'm all about, and what I do. And I can't wait to connect with you more in the future. I went all in on my coaching business in 2020 and 2021, but I've had my coaching business around on the side for 15 to 20 years. I have been coaching, educating, mentoring in some capacity for that long, whether it be athletics, leadership, marketing, business. If you haven't picked up on it already, all the things. And really what my current version of the business is I am a play-based leadership, marketing, and business mentor. What does that mean, being a play-based leadership, business, and marketing mentor? Really what I do is I help business owners and leaders find their joy, find their peace, get clarity on their why, learn to prioritize themselves, all while we are strategizing, expanding, clarifying, and mapping out the business and creating a really beautiful action roadmap to roll all of that out. So that's the work I do. It's always in the both, and it's a theme that comes up over and over and over again in my life. And when I was shifting my business in 2020, 2024, I thought I was going to go in a different direction with it. I am multi-passionate. I love all the things. I love talking about all the things. I love teaching about all the things. I love sharing about all of the things. And I really thought it was going to go in a different direction. And yet here I am. This is where I landed as a mentor, a coach, and a guide. And a lot of it is pulled from the wisdom that I have gained being multi-passionate and exploring all the different fields and giving myself permission to prioritize my joy, wearing all the different hats that I love to wear, whether that be a leader, whether that be a business owner, whether that be a mom, a homesteader, an artist, really weaving all of those pieces together and the lessons that I've learned. And a big part of my why for this business and what I do and how I support business owners and leaders is making mistakes and hitting barriers and having the stumbling blocks over and over and over again, the same patterns. When I remember vividly, I want to say this is probably in 2021, maybe 2022, where summer of 2022, I was beyond overloaded, feeling really burnt out. And I remember sitting in a coffee shop and a girlfriend of mine stopped by and she just saw on my face how overwhelmed and burnt out and fried I was. And it just hit me as we were talking that I carried all of my old patterns with me, right? I started this business. I went all in on this business because I wanted my why. And I knew that very clearly. I did the work to figure that out, was to have freedom and flexibility, to have the days that I want, to pursue the other passions that I wanted, to prioritize my time with my infant daughter at the time, now toddler, to prioritize our family, to prioritize a slower way of living. That was my why, to have the freedom and flexibility to do that. And even though I wanted that why, I carried all of my patterns from quote unquote my 9 to 5 life, because it was never a 9 to 5 life. It was always 50, 60, 70, 80 hour weeks, hustling, grinding, doing all the things. I carried all the patterns of being a people pleaser. I carried all of the patterns of not either not setting or not holding boundaries that I had created for myself. I carried all the patterns and beliefs that I had to always be working more and harder in order to be successful. Even though there was this part of me that deep down knew there was a different way. There had to be a different way. This couldn't be the only way to do it, because if that was the only way to do it, I wasn't going to make it. I wasn't going to survive, because I was working myself into an early grave. All my old health stuff that I had really reversed and taken care of was slowly creeping back in that postpartum overworking era. And I knew that something had to change. And it wasn't, yes, it was a change of some of what I was doing, because I was doing work and picking up work that I didn't want to do, but I also knew I needed to pay the bills. The real change needed to come from within me. The real change needed to come from me getting clear on what my boundaries were, getting clear on what the work was that I wanted to do in the work world, putting that out there, and then holding those boundaries. And it still took me another 6 to 8 months to really stand in that power, maybe even close to a year. And then it still took me another year after that to see the ripple out and the shift. But it did happen. It still meant working hard. It still meant putting in time, but I was doing it in a way that worked for me. I was doing it more strategically. I was doing it more efficiently. I was finally owning, like really, really owning my power and my gifts and my talents as a guide and an educator, a mentor, but at a deeper level than before. I always knew that that's who I was, but I was believing what people were saying. I was believing that I emanated peace and joy, and that people always felt safe and warm and welcome there. I was finally starting to hear that and believe it and put all of those pieces in place. And as I did that over the next 2 years, the ripple out into my life, my relationships, was just mind blowing. Like, we believe it sort of superficially when we hear that, but looking back and seeing how many shifts were made in my life, my family's life, because I stood in my power and went all in and doubled down on this belief that I could craft a business in a way that worked for me, so that I could play more, follow my joy, and not constantly be glued to my laptop, to my phone, whatever that looked like. So it was astounding how much that shifted in my personal life. And then I started to see the shift in my business. I started to see the client shift. I started being able to release the work of the doing for other businesses. A lot of the work I used to do was done for you work, service provider type work in the marketing world, OB, online business manager type, virtual assistant type work. And I was good at it, but it wasn't my zone of genius. My zone of genius was working at that higher level, strategically, bringing my magical, both and strategic brain, along with all my lived experiences, to the table. And so as I released that work, even though it was scary because I didn't necessarily have all of the other coaching lined up, it opened up room for the coaching clients that needed my gifts and my magic and my wisdom. And suddenly they started flooding in. And suddenly, in a quarter, my business was making almost as much as what my old full time salary was, in a quarter, 1 quarter. And that was with prioritizing myself. That was with pursuing and prioritizing my joy. That was with getting really clear on my why and holding the boundaries for my why. That was getting strategic and continuing to invest back in my business and myself, so that I had people supporting me the way I support my clients. And then that was taking the action on all of it. And that's why I do the work that I do. I am such a big believer that, because I've lived it and I've seen other people live it, that we can prioritize our joy, especially as women, As moms, I think so often we get burnt out and resentful, and as business owners too, because we're always putting everyone before ourselves. We're always taking care of everything else before ourselves. And we get angry, we get resentful, we get worn down. And when I help my clients shift to actually prioritizing and putting themselves first, which seems counterintuitive and feels quote unquote selfish. But when we learn to put ourselves first, when my clients step into that and really start to believe that and really start to give themselves permission to explore what lights them up and what brings them joy, that's when they show up even better for their families, their children, their partners, their businesses. When we can play and create and follow our joy and find our peace, that's when this whole other space in our brains and our lives, our capacity just expands, right? It's that old saying on, whenever you ride on an airplane, the flight attendants, when they do their training in the beginning, they always tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before you put the oxygen mask on for your kids, right? Counterintuitive to what we want to do as moms. We want to quickly throw it on our kids first, make sure they're okay. But we run the risk of not having enough oxygen ourselves in order to get that mask on them. So if we can get ours on first, make sure we have enough oxygen to complete the task of getting it on the kids and the people we're taking care of. It's the same thing in life. It's absolutely the same thing in our businesses, in our leadership. And so that's what I'm all about. That's what I do. That's why I do what I do. Because when more of us as women, as business owners, as leaders, as partners can put ourselves first and put our joy first, we are changing the world. We're making the shifts when things are really hard. Our businesses, our missions, our visions are what can make these shifts for the better in the world. And that's why I do what I do. I love helping my clients lean in and push the edges and find the uncomfortable and get messy, be imperfect, do it silly, play with the idea. That's what the Playful Wise Woman experience is all about. I am so excited for this first season of this episode. Just want to do a little quick overview for you all today to kind of give you a taste of what we are getting into. We will talk about anything and everything. Lots of great guests lined up and coming in this season. It's going to be a big, beautiful, messy, real life experience. And I can't wait to walk that path with you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. More to come. Thank you for listening to the Playful Wise Woman Show. I hope that what we have discussed has helped you lean into giving yourself permission to be all of you. We would love to hear from our listeners. Please leave a review and a rating. And now, go find your joy.